Season 3 of Tulsa King is changing the entire dynamic of Dwight's empire, and it all comes down to the replacement for Caolan Waltrip, better known as Thresher. When Thresher went down, it seemed like Dwight had finally cleared a path to solidify his control over Tulsa. But that victory was short-lived, because his new adversary is far more dangerous than the reckless brute he just defeated. And the reason why is simple. Thresher was chaos, but this new figure is control. Thresher represented raw aggression. He was violent, unstable, and reckless, the kind of villain who thrives on intimidation and bloodshed. His gang burned hot and fast, but the very nature of his unpredictability made him vulnerable to someone like Dwight, who has decades of experience surviving mob wars. For all his brutality, Thresher's downfall was inevitable, because Dwight could anticipate his every move. He'd seen that kind of street-level gangster 100 times before. But Season 3 is setting up something far more unsettling. Instead of another blunt instrument crashing into Dwight's operation, the power vacuum left behind is being filled by a rival who thrives on patience, strategy, and manipulation. This isn't someone who announces their presence with chaos. This is someone who quietly erodes Dwight's power, piece by piece, until he realizes too late that the ground beneath him is gone. And that's the key difference. Thresher fought battles out in the open, where Dwight could meet him head-on. This new replacement wages war in the shadows, turning allies against each other, sowing distrust, and making Dwight fight on ground he's not prepared for. For a man like Dwight, who believes in loyalty and face-to-face respect, that kind of psychological warfare is almost impossible to counter. Season 3 makes it clear that Dwight's real struggle isn't just physical survival, it's whether he can adapt to a new kind of criminal landscape. The mafia world he came from was built on rules, codes, and a certain twisted sense of honor. But Tulsa is different. The people moving in to challenge him don't play by those old-school rules. They don't need to. In fact, they weaponize the fact that Dwight still believes in them, and that makes him vulnerable. Imagine how dangerous this is for Dwight's crew. Loyalty has been his greatest asset, but also his greatest weakness. His people trust him, they believe in him, but loyalty only stretches so far when fear, money, and survival are at stake. Thresher's replacement doesn't need to storm Dwight's empire. All they need to do is whisper in the right ears, plant the right doubts, and slowly peel away the foundation until Dwight is isolated. That's a battle he's never had to fight before. And this is where the storytelling becomes fascinating. Tulsa King isn't just repeating the same villain template season after season. It's evolving, raising the stakes in ways that feel organic to Dwight's journey. Season 1 gave him a fresh start. Season 2 tested his ability to stand against raw chaos. Now Season 3 is asking whether he can outthink an opponent who doesn't even need to show their hand to win. Thresher may have been Dwight's most explosive enemy, but this replacement has the potential to be his most dangerous, because they understand power in a way Thresher never did. They know that killing a man isn't always the best way to beat him. Sometimes it's better to take his trust, his friends, and his reputation. And for Dwight, losing those things might cut deeper than any bullet ever could. This shift also pushes Tulsa King closer to the legacy of great crime dramas. Shows like The Sopranos, Boardwalk Empire, and Breaking Bad built their tension on enemies who weren't just violent, but calculating, adversaries who reshaped the entire playing field. Season 3 is signaling that Tulsa King is ready to step into that territory, giving Dwight an enemy who doesn't just challenge his fists, but also his mind, his soul, and the very principles he's lived by. And let's not forget, Dwight isn't the same man he was back in New York. He's older and wiser, but also stuck in a mindset from another time. Thresher was a fight he could still win because it was familiar, but the replacement is like fighting the future, ruthless, efficient, and unbound by tradition. It forces Dwight into a corner where he has to ask himself, can he adapt or will he break? The real danger of Season 3's new rival isn't just their methods, it's what they reveal about Dwight. Every decision he makes, every relationship he leans on, will be tested in ways he's never experienced. This is more than just a villain of the week. This is the person who could finally prove that Dwight's old-school codes don't work anymore. And if that happens, Tulsa doesn't just get harder, it becomes unwinnable. So while Thresher's exit may have looked like a victory for Dwight, it's actually the beginning of his hardest fight yet. The replacement stepping into that void is colder, sharper, and infinitely more dangerous, not because they can outfight Dwight, but because they can outthink him. And that makes Season 3 the turning point, the moment where Tulsa King either shows us Dwight's greatest evolution or his inevitable downfall. Tulsa King Season 3 just introduced its newest villain and replacement for Neil McDonough's Cal Thresher, and he's very bad news for Dwight Manfredi. The cast of Tulsa King includes several returning characters, but it's the new additions that are the most intriguing. Many of them build off the ending of Tulsa King Season 2, But the show's new villain is wholly new. Tulsa King also has a long history of good villains. All of them have threatened Dwight and his criminal empire in some way, but Tulsa King Season 3's new antagonist could be the most dangerous of them all. In fact, this new villain could surpass even Thresher and Jackie Ming, who very nearly managed to destroy Dwight's entire operation. The premiere of Tulsa King Season 3 introduced Jeremiah Dunmire, Robert Patrick, a vicious liquor magnate, and Dwight's main antagonist for the rest of the season. Even though we've only seen one episode, it's already clear that Dunmire is the scariest villain Tulsa King has ever seen. He's a much bigger threat than Caolan Waltrip, Bill Bevilacqua, Thresher, Jackie Ming, and Chicky Invernizzi. The proof is in the pudding. All of Tulsa King's previous villains have been introduced in pretty underwhelming ways. Waltrip was first seen when one of his men blew himself up. Dwight met Thresher at a dinner party, and Bevilacqua was riding a horse. Jeremiah Dunmire, however, made alcohol by hand before having his men beat Theo Montague, kill him, and burn his house down. Dunmire also has a lot more presence than any of Tulsa King's previous villains. Waltrip was a weasel, Thresher was a businessman, and Chicky, Bill, and Jackie were all pretty standard mob bosses. Dunmire, on the other hand, seems like a psychotic traditionalist who was covered in tattoos and would kill someone just for disrespecting him. He's already a terrifying man, and there's no telling how much worse he'll get.